To the Fever, I'm told. She was a popular free agent who weighed several options but opted to return to Indiana and keep their young core together. She was a restricted free agent. Lexi Hall is returning to the Indiana Fever, and she put it on her TikTok in an epic video. But guys, this is just a big-time move for the Indiana Fever. I'm excited about this. But we need to figure out, is we going to get Elena Smith, Mo Billings, and some other new players. We struggling at the forward position. We don't have any word on Sophie Cunningham yet. I know you guys want to know so bad.
Two major roster moves came through for the Indiana Fever in quick succession, and the energy surrounding the franchise heading into the new season just shifted considerably. First, Lexi Hall is coming back. The deal is done. Hull, who had been one of the more sought-after names in the free agent pool, considered her options but ultimately chose to stay in Indianapolis. ESPN's Alexa Philippou confirmed the news, reporting that Hull agreed to a multi-year contract to remain with the team.
Forward position, we don't have any word on Sophie Cunningham yet. I know you guys want to know so bad, but I'm telling you right now, we don't know anything. Hopefully we find out some information before the day is out. As we making this video, I am here to tell you Mo Billings is signing with the Fever. The news just came out literally 3 seconds ago. Alexa Philippou just dropped it. It's being reported that she can confirm that forward Mo Billings is signing with the Indiana Fever in free agency. The first big free agent, new upcomer after re-signing Kelsey Mitchell and Lex.
The decision did not come as a complete surprise to those paying attention. Hull purchased a home in Indianapolis during her time there, signaling that her ties to the city ran deeper than just basketball. She was a restricted free agent who fielded serious interest from elsewhere but kept her young core intact by staying put. Hull even announced the news herself through a TikTok video that quickly made the rounds online. Then, seconds after that news settled, a second confirmation dropped. Philippou reported that forward Monique Billings is also signing with the Indiana Fever.
Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hall. Let's go! Look like we up late tonight, man. There's big-time free agency news that just hit the damn internet. Now, this is crazy because I was just on live earlier today chopping it up with Ben Daniel in the chat, and we let it be known, bro. They have 24 to 72 hours to potentially save or sink the season. Well, I'm here to tell you, they working, and I got to give them a round of applause.
Coming right on the heels of the already secured returns of Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hull, the Billings addition represents the first notable external free agent acquisition of the offseason, and it is a meaningful one. What makes the Billings signing particularly striking is the path it took to get there. Billings had sat down with the New York Liberty, a franchise with a decorated recent resume and no shortage of credibility. Despite that meeting, sources indicated she was expected to choose Indiana, and that is exactly what happened. The pull of the Fever's current momentum proved stronger than the appeal of an established contender.
They working, and I got to give them a round of applause. Now, there was a list that we shared on live earlier today. Now, on this set list was names of several players that people feel that will come in and make immediate impact. Now, I'm about to pull up that set list for you guys right now, and I'm telling you this for verbatim. If Amber Cox get this one single-handed player, well, I would say a couple players.
That momentum has a name, the Caitlin Clark effect. The platform that comes with suiting up alongside Clark has demonstrated a genuine ability to elevate the performances of the players around her. Odyssey Sims put together the most talked-about postseason stretch of her career while wearing a Fever uniform, dropping 16 points and 8 assists in one game, then exploding for 27 points and 6 assists in a subsequent contest, and finishing the postseason run with averages of 14 points and 4 assists across the series. That output was not a coincidence. The attention, the fan base, the spotlight, all of it creates a competitive environment where players tend to rise to the occasion.
Cox get this one single-handed player. Well, I would say a couple players, but this one right here is crucial and very, very important because this would single-handedly get the Fever over the hump. Over the hump being that we will potentially automatically become a WNBA contender out the gate. There's nothing they can say, do, or anything that could ruin that. Let me pull up something for you guys because this go hand in hand with what I'm about to show you guys in this free agency. Free agents that
Billings posted averages of 7 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 0.5 assists last season. Those numbers, while respectable, are widely viewed as a floor rather than a ceiling given the right circumstances. Inside Indiana's system, where spacing and cutting are built around Clark's playmaking, the expectation is that her production climbs noticeably. The need for exactly this kind of forward had been a talking point throughout the offseason. The Fever required a player at that position who could do their job reliably and critically, one who understood where to be on the floor at all times.
It's free agents. Free agents that came out that we went over on live. Now, on this list right here is names of players. Impactful players. Now, in my live, we discussed players that could come in and we feel like could make an immediate change. One of these names to stand out is Monique Billings. What if I was to tell you that Amber Cox went out of her way to contact Monique Billings tonight? Yes, because
There were stretches last season where certain players seemed caught off guard by the speed and precision of Clark's decision-making, leading to turnovers on what should have been clean opportunities. Billings brings the positional awareness and professional experience needed to eliminate those breakdowns. What is also worth acknowledging is how this unfolded from a front office standpoint. The Fever fanbase had been vocally pushing for Billings as a target, putting her name out there the same way supporters do every offseason with little expectation that anyone in the building was actually paying attention. This time, Amber Cox moved quickly and decisively.
Contact Monique Billings tonight. Yes, because news is all over the freaking internet that Amber Cox and the Indiana Fever has contacted Monique Billings, and they have been in talks with her. Now, if this do come to fruition, I am all in for the Indiana Fever front office. I ain't lying. If they sign Monique Billings and Elena Smith, I have nothing negative to say for the rest of the season. I can promise you that.
The organization went out and made the call, and now they have their player. With Hull locked in long-term and Billings now added to the mix, the roster is taking shape in a direction that gives the Fever a legitimate argument for contender status entering the season. Announcements are expected to continue rolling in over the next 24 to 48 hours, and the foundation being built right now has the look of something that could finally put a trophy in reach. The Indiana Fever are staring down a championship window that lasts precisely 1 year, and the Kelsey Mitchell Supermax signing has made that reality impossible to ignore. Mitchell herself is worth every dollar of the $1.4 million she secured. Nobody is seriously questioning that.
Shout out to Roberta. Roberta has been working over freaking drive with getting out news and getting us information. Now, Alexa Philippou been going in too, and he kind of falling off. But listen to this, guys. It says Monique Billings took a meeting with the New York Liberty, but should sign with the Fever, I'm being told. Now, this is major news because what did I tell y'all earlier? I said when it comes to these players,
what the deal does, however, is compress the Fever's timeline and strain the resources needed to build a genuine contender around the core three. Because she signed a one-year deal rather than a multi-year arrangement, she cannot be traded through a sign-and-trade this offseason. Mid-season movement may technically be possible, but practically speaking, Indiana gets no assets back from this situation. She plays out the year, and then she walks. The more immediate problem is the roster construction fallout.
She's worth every cent of the Supermax. But what does this mean for the Indiana Fever? The fact that she signed that $1.4 million a year, because the cap spike going up, you can't get traded at the Supermax. But if she signed you can't be signed and traded. There's a difference between being traded and a sign and trade. A sign and trade is what happens now, but she can be traded mid-season. As far as I'm aware, she can be traded mid-season, or maybe there's something that's...
With Mitchell consuming $1.4 million of cap space, the likelihood of retaining both Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham drops considerably. Between the two, Cunningham is the stronger basketball player, but at this point, keeping either one long-term at a meaningful salary creates new problems down the line. If Hull signs an offer sheet anywhere in the $700, $800K range and the Fever choose to match, that money is locked in, which eliminates the flexibility needed to bring in a legitimate third star when the time comes. The power forward market makes things worse. Most of the quality options at that position are already spoken for.
And be traded mid-season. As far as I'm aware, she can be traded mid-season, or maybe there's something that stops that. But if she signed a 3-year Supermax, she could be traded at some stage. But there'd be a risk of losing Caitlin Clark. With Kelsey Mitchell, if there was any chance that she would take a long-term deal and leave money on the table, like Arike is leaving money on the table, and Arike is leaving money on the table, and suddenly the Dallas Wings are now potentially in for Azare. The Dallas Wings are in for...
Alana Smith is likely staying in Minnesota. Azare Stevens looks headed to Chicago. Dirachi appears destined for Dallas. Temi Fagbenle is a name worth watching and is arguably a better fit than Natasha Howard, but the cost is uncertain. Outside of her, the realistic ceiling for what Indiana can bring in at power forward appears to be Howard, and a Howard-led frontline is not what a title contender looks like.
Wings are now potentially in for Azare. The Dallas Wings are in for... They just signed Jess Shepard, who's a really, really good backup, one of the best backup bigs in the league. They might go and pick up Ty Harris again. They're in for Hamby. They're in for Azare. They have more money to deal with, and they've got a better draft pick. Do I think the Wings are going to be better in the Fever? No. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that. But they might out-role player. They might sign better role players in the Fever. And with Kelsey Mitchell signing a Supermax, what does that mean? This year, currently, there is less money to keep Lexi.
The core three of Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Aaliyah Boston may be the best trio in the league. A reasonable argument can be made that they edge out New York Liberty's top three. The gap, however, is not between the stars, it's between the supporting casts. The Liberty have constructed a deep, reliable 12-man rotation of legitimate contributors. The Fever are piecing together a group of veteran minimum signings from the domestic market, and that approach has a ceiling.
What does that mean? This year, currently, there is less money to keep Lexi and Sophie. It decreases your chances of keeping both of them. And it's at the stage now with Kelsey Mitchell making $1.4 million. If you're trying to build a championship team, you probably let one of them walk. You probably let one of Lexi or Sophie walk. The better basketball player of the two is Sophie Cunningham. And I don't know if either of them can be there long term, but the better basketball player is Sophie Cunningham. So, it is what it is. And I'm not knocking Kelsey Mitchell because she earned every bit of this money. She earned every...
Teams that contend at the highest level, the Aces, the Liberty, the Dream, have their core locked in and fill the rest of the roster with minimum deals structured smartly around it. The Dream in particular are worth watching. Their regular season outlook looks strong, and the depth they have assembled could give them an edge in the standings even...
bit of this money. She earned every cent of this. And people are like, oh, you're taking a shot at Kelsey. No, I'm not. She earned every cent of this. The problem is that the Indiana Fever, this is their championship. Their championship window is 2026. And right now, with $1.4 million going towards Kelsey Mitchell, they realistically cannot afford any power forward better than Natasha.
Indiana does not recruit internationally. They do not maintain stashes of overseas prospects. The draft landscape is also shifting. Younger international players who might once have entered early are increasingly choosing the college route unless they are near certain lottery picks. That pipeline is essentially closed for teams like Indiana that have not invested in building those relationships abroad.
Natasha Howard, realistically, because I will say this, a lot of people were saying, oh, Mo Billings, she's going to New York. It's the type of greed they talk about in the Bible. Alana Smith's probably back in Minnesota. Minnesota are probably running it back, except they have one of the two stud buds now. They're probably going and running it back. But Alana Smith is probably going to stay in Minnesota. Azare Stevens is probably going to Chicago. De'Erica Hamby's
Names like Emma Mieseman, Bridget Carlton, or other experienced European contributors are the type of role players that could elevate a roster on manageable deals, but the Fever have shown no real inclination to pursue that avenue. The mistakes of previous front office regimes compound the problem. Celeste Taylor, Emily Engsler, and Julie Alamand are the kinds of players a well-run organization finds ways to keep. Alamand, in particular, moved for essentially nothing before she competed at the Olympics, represents the type of decision that comes back to haunt a franchise for years.
Probably going to Chicago. De'Erica Hamby's probably going to Dallas. Naz Hillman stayed in Atlanta. I'm just looking at potential power forwards. Emma Messiman's probably going to Connecticut. Temi, maybe Temi. Temi's better than Natasha Howard, but I don't know what she's going to cost. But like, there's no real good power forwards, and there's not that many good power forwards overseas. Even there's none in the draft. Like, we're at the stage where we're this close to, and Satu's probably going.
The argument that Mitchell might return on a reduced deal next year after taking the full Supermax this season does not hold up to scrutiny. Everything known about how she approaches her career suggests she will take the maximum available to her wherever that exists. If she was ever open to leaving money behind for the sake of long-term stability, a multi-year deal would have been on the table already. It was not.
Close to, and Satu's probably going to Toronto. We're this close to the best power forward that the Fever are going to be able to keep is Natasha Howard, and I don't think that's a championship team. Like, I think that it's, you have Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Leah Boston are a championship big three. Big three. I think they're the best big three in the league, by the way. I think they're better than the Aces big three. I think they are at least an equivalent to New York Liberty's big three. If you're asking me to rank players, at this point in time, let me put Caitlin.
When she has another strong season, and she will, because that is simply what she does, she will have her pick of suitors willing to match what she earned this year or more. What Indiana is left with after this season is Clark, Boston, and whatever can be assembled around them in free agency without the infrastructure, draft capital, or international pipeline to do it well. The 2026 campaign is the window. If the Fever do not make a serious run at it this year, the path back to genuine title contention is murkier than the organization may want to admit.